as you mentioned, when you were starting out or you were working, people just thought that that's who you were with the accent. But by the time you get to Shogun and the established career that you've already had, they're like, well, we know what Nestor can do. If we need him to do it, he can do it. And you show up in there and you do that. But you mentioned Justin Marks. I had the pleasure of actually meeting Justin Marks and working with him for a brief second when I was working at Warner Brothers. And
that's great.
Yeah, we had a thing that we were kind of doing, and he's a phenomenal person. I really like Justin a lot, and he's super talented in everything that he's done, from Top Gun Maverick to this and everything. So I was reading a lot of stuff of what he had said, and this roller coaster of season 2 with Shogun. This roller coaster of, oh, they're gonna do, we can't do it. There's nothing else that we'd be able to do. The books only goes to this one thing, and then it's like, well, FX is kind of knocking on the door, I guess, or other people, and it's like, hey, so have you hear anything about this, or you just kind of like us, same thing? What the hell's happened with season 2?
I'm sort of out of the loop on that in that regard. I haven't talked to I emailed with Justin a little bit after the nomination. He was very sweet. He reached out to me and we emailed back and forth. I congratulated him obviously on his tremendous, incredible work. I'm hoping to see him at the Emmys, and catch up with him. But I can only imagine that, because I think they picked it up for 2 seasons. Is that right?
Yeah. 2 and 3.
Yep.
3. So I can only imagine what that writer's room must be like, because you're absolutely right. I don't know where they're going to go with the story, and who knows. But I'm excited to see what he comes up with. What he and Rachel did was, and I'm sure you guys agree, was extraordinary. The way that they focused on sort of those power dynamics within the regions, those Japanese regions, and really exploring the chess match of what they did, and where you see, Toranaga, a hero, playing this grand master. How Justin crafted and Rachel, how they crafted this incredible sort of, it felt like the entire season felt like a chess match, and in the most beautiful way. Was extraordinary. So I can only wait to appreciate the following chess match, because I'm sure a lot of it will be about manipulation, and I imagine it will be the next 2 seasons.
You guys shot in 2001, which is quite a bit of time ago. Is the conversation on set when you're shooting, we know this is only 1 season? Is that how everybody felt?
I just assumed it was. I assumed it was because, the original miniseries was just a miniseries, and I figured, well, it's a book, and then there's no sequel to the book that really picks up where it leaves off. All the other books are sort of their own entities. So I just assumed, I truly just assumed it was a miniseries. And then, and I was hoping to do the last episode. There had been talk about me coming back for episode 10, but I think they couldn't figure, all the elements out at the time. So I just, I just loved and enjoyed the ride when I was on it. I will tell you this though, Roxy, I've never been a part of something, certainly in TV, as epic in scope, So we shot like at the tail end of COVID. It was post, shutdown is when things were starting to open up a bit, but we're in Vancouver, and their laws are pretty stringent still at the time. So we were double masked, we were masked, or we had a shield, even outdoors. And it was a whole, and we were tested every day naturally, but on Wednesdays and Fridays, everyone was tested, everyone. And so I remember one Wednesday I walked in and I was like, well, what number am I today? And they're like, you're number 1,534.
Wow.
And that's wow. So, yeah, that's how massive, obviously they, every subcontractor had to come in and get tested. Anyone remotely affiliated had to get tested on those 2 days. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This many people are working on this production. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how, as you were talking before, Nestor, with the change in the business overall, how crazy that is to even imagine that kind of scale would happen on television. Like in 20 years ago, you couldn't even imagine that. I mean, I remember when Rome came out on HBO, and it was like, I think it was like $100 million for that show. And everyone was like, oh my God, they're breaking the budget here. And they were like ahead of their time in what they were doing. So, from your perspective, how different is it? And the opportunities, maybe, are there more opportunities, obviously, through doing something epic and cinematic like that? How do you think it's changed?
You're absolutely right, Kristian. I mean, it is, dramatically changed. I even remember with Lost as a pilot, that pilot alone was massive. And still, I just rewatched it long ago because I took part in the documentary, the Lost documentary. And so I wanted to rewatch the pilot. it holds up. I mean, that thing is I mean, it's J.J. Abrams, but it's also, even in terms of the special effects and how big it was like that was a big deal, certainly for network, massive for network. Yeah, I mean, I still marvel at the amount of money that goes into executing these epics. It is extremely. Game of Thrones, obviously, the other obvious one. I'm amazed by it. I mean, you see it obviously on the bigger features, on the the tentpole features, and I certainly got a taste of that on Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I mean, those are they're massive budgets, but I'd never seen that. Certainly not when I started out in television, 30 years ago.
Sure.
It was unheard of. It's amazing, and I love that the streamers, that the studios are getting behind television in this way, because we're also getting to explore characters in a more profound way. We're getting 10 episodes as opposed to 2 hours, Right. So you're really getting to explore all of these characters in a deeper way. So I'm glad that much that many resources have been shifted to television.